Viceroy, Saskatchewan in 1928, Margaret Kesserling-Weirs graduated from the University of Saskatchewan with a BA in English in 1949. As an early feminist, social reformer, and fierce nationalist, she embarked on a 40-year career in journalism that began with the Regina Leader Post and ended with the Toronto Star. She left the Leader Post in 1955 and joined the Canadian Foreign Service, serving as Vice Consul for the Canadian Consulate General in New York City and a press officer for the Canadian delegation to the United Nations General Assembly. In 1957, she got married, which marked the end of her Foreign Service career due to regulations in place at the time. Margaret Weiers received an honorary doctorate of letters from the University of Saskatchewan in 2010. At that time, she got in touch with the University Archives and donated a small set of papers, including clippings and drafts of articles and editorials. Among those papers is a speech to the Toronto Women's Club in which she related some of her recollections from her posting to New York. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Lillian Dyck.
Good evening. It's a great pleasure to be here, and especially with the remarkable speakers that have come before me. As our MC has indicated, I'm a scientist, senator, and feminist, and I've only been on the stage a couple of times. When I was in grade 8, I was in a play in Edinburgh, Alberta, and I played the black serving maid. When I was in Ottawa in 2005, I made my second appearance on stage, and I can't think of the name of the theater right now, but it was in the Vagina Monologues, so quite a different theater experience. When I was listening to the introduction of Margaret Kesserling and read through the letter, it's remarkable that this is 50 years ago, and yet some things have changed, and what really struck me was the fact that due to marriage, her career ended. And even during my career, it was often said to me, well, you don't really need a job because you're married and you have a husband who can support you. And so things have changed, but they still need to change, but things are definitely getting better. And as I was reading through it, I also thought of Senator Pamela Wallin, who had a career in television, similar to Margaret Kesserling. But she was posted to Washington as Consul General, and I suspect her experiences were quite different than what you'll hear from the reading from Margaret Kesserling. And here it is. I was posted to New York as a Vice Consul 6 weeks after I joined Canada's Department of External Affairs as a Foreign Service Officer, Grade 1. It was very exciting. I was the envy of all my fellow probationary officers who had nothing more interesting to look forward to than a 2 years training period in Ottawa. My consular commissions bore the great seals of Canada and the United States and the signatures of the Governor General and the President. My picture appeared in my hometown newspaper, and I received congratulatory letters from old friends and presidents of women's organizations in Regina. But soon I learned that a vice consul is low man on the totem pole, on the diplomatic totem pole. When the personnel people in the department in Ottawa talked to me about my posting, they said, "You'll be in the information office, but we'll call you a vice consul. We don't know what else to call you. Only the man in charge of the office has the title information officer." My ideas of what a vice consul was to do at a post abroad were rather vague. The vagueness wasn't dispelled by my instructions from Ottawa that I would be doing information work. Later, I formulated my own description of what I was doing, public relations for Canada. We dispensed information about Canada to school children, teachers, university students, reporters, writers, editors, television and radio producers, and to hundreds of callers a week who were only voices on the other end of a telephone. "I'm going to Winnipeg in August," said one man. "Will I need an overcoat?" More like a winter overcoat. A woman telephoned, I've heard there are good little French maids in Canada. How do I get one? At home, every Sunday afternoon, promptly at 2 o'clock, I could count on a telephone call from Time magazine. Someone in the research department had found a fact or a phrase in a Canadian story that needed explanation. I took to going to the art gallery in self-defense. A Canadian Vice Consul is also supposed to give assistance and protection to Canadian citizens traveling or doing business in foreign countries. Some of my very best tact and diplomacy was required to tell Canadian visitors, I'm very sorry, but we just can't get tickets for My Fair Lady and the Ed Sullivan Show. In fact, I haven't seen them ourselves. I can still hear the Winnipeg contractor whom I conducted around the beautiful United Nations building in New York. Hear that sound? He said, clenched fist banging on a door frame. I wouldn't let my men put up a building like that. So that was the reading. Now, to me, it's interesting to be doing this reading because normally I do readings in the Senate. And we were talking about debates and the letter from the young man about the old age security and how the age may be raised in the near future. And of course, in the Senate, we will have those debates, and they may or may not be all that pleasant. And I was also thinking as that topic was brought up, I am fortunate enough to be one of those that he considers is getting a gold-plated pension. So it'll be interesting times. In the Senate, when we read things, of course, they're dealing with many topics, with pieces of legislation and so on. But what is sort of strange is we sometimes get up, but a lot of times there isn't that actual debate of going back and forth. And I think that Margaret, in some of her work, in her work, probably experienced the same sort of thing where you get these odd questions, and sometimes, especially as a senator, we do have to utilize our tact and diplomacy. Thank you.